Hey, what's up, guys? So, my name's Warbolt. I've been playing Lost Ark since the release, since early access, to be honest. But, yeah, there's a lot of hot topics in the community, and I just wanted to talk. Just sit down and have a little tea time. Maybe I'll set up a room in my stronghold and do these videos every now and then. I really like how Saint does them sometimes. Or when Saint just kind of like chills on stream and talks. Maybe I'll do more of like a YouTube segment of something similar to that. But right now, there's a lot of discourse in the Lost Ark community. And it's kind of sad to see, to be honest, because I actually really enjoy this game. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this video really enjoy this game. And I'm sure there's, you know, a loud minority that's going to be in the comments saying the game sucks, just quit, whatever, etc. But to be honest, like, this is probably one of the best games I've ever played. Yeah, there's heavy grind. Yes, there's some dumb stuff. But, like, I've been playing Smilegate games for a while because, like, if you look at the previous content on my channel, it's like I've had some feuds with Smilegate before, to where like I played Epic 7 and I actually started a review bomb on their game because I was so dissatisfied with how they were handling things, and it actually like motivated change for the game. I'm not saying that's what we should do now, but I'm just saying that just you know, I'm pretty passionate about what I do and what I'm saying, and especially with something I like, because I have gone to that extent before. I'm not saying that this is what this game needs, because I think, personally, I think the game's pretty good in the state it's in now. There's definitely some polishing it still needs. Like, the game is still relatively new, as opposed to you look at World of Warcraft that can legally drink, right? And that game still has problems over 20 years later after it's already been out, right? And there's issues with other games as well. But I think Lost Ark is still a baby MMO. Like, it has been out for what, 4 years or something in Korea, 3 years, and then like you can't even really count the first couple years because the game was actual trash, and it almost died, and it took them rebooting it for it to do well. And I'm pretty sure the same thing happened with Final Fantasy. The same thing kind of happened with New World, but the problem is with doing that these days, it's very hard to come back from a bad launch, right? And I think Lost Ark, outside of like World of Warcraft, for me, at least for me personally, this is 100% true, had like one of the best game launches ever in regards to MMOs. I didn't get to play WoW in launch because I was a little kid, but I did start playing it 5 months after it came out. So I was playing WoW pretty early. Like, I'm 32 now. I played WoW when I was in middle school up until I joined the military. And then after I was in the military, I continued playing. I played WoW from Iraq during Cataclysm. I've been playing MMOs for a long time. I started playing MMOs with RuneScape when I was 11 years old, right? My first computer game was pretty much RuneScape, and I was a top player in RuneScape too. Like, I've always been a grinder ever since I was little, right? So that's just like a little bit of a background. Like, I've been playing MMOs for a long time. I did play Diablo for a bit. I spent some time in the Gacha universe, so which, you know, it can brand me as well. I'm definitely 5 digits into this game. Not, you know, up into like 50,000 or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I've just broke like, you know, 10. Most of that's gone to cards and skins. I haven't really spent much in terms of raw power and honing and stuff. That's pretty much been grinded out. I've spent a little bit here and there to push characters, but a lot of that stuff is bound sitting on characters that I stopped honing anyways, that are sitting at 1460. So, you're looking at my main now. He's 1570. He's got a ton of bound mats. But yeah, moving on to like the actual, like, probably why you clicked this video. I know a hot topic right now is Brel hard mode, because a lot of people think it's too hard, and I don't want to sit here and say get good or anything like that, because I do agree that the fight is hard, but me personally, I like that about it being hard. Do I think some of the mechanics are too punishing in Brel? And I really don't think they are. It's not the mechanics that's killing people. It's the damage and the pattern overlap. I think Brel would be a lot easier to deal with if she didn't overlap so many patterns. Because if you're on the lower end of damage and you're doing hard mode Brel, there's some pretty nasty pattern overlaps. And if you don't have time stop off cooldown, or you don't have your roll at the right time, or your bard's not paying attention, and you don't get the Rhapsody, or You know, you just spaced and you used your target down and you get smacked in the face with a tomato. Like, meanwhile, she's doing a spin knockback and, like, you're just dead. There's not much you can do about it. And I think that's where the difficulty in Brel comes. I think hard mode Brel is much better related to hell mode content. I haven't done hell mode content because I play games because I like to get stronger. Not for the challenge particularly. I like overgearing things. And that even comes with PvP. Like, I grinded to extreme in PvP when this game came out because I did kind of enjoy the PvP. But I enjoy PvPing and Rowan way more, you know. Just because, you know, I have crazy gear and, you know, I run around and demolish everybody. And if you want to see that, like, it's another video on my channel of me and running around and Rowan, which is actually pretty entertaining to watch. It's about 3 minutes. But, like, I really enjoy doing that. I like when gear comes into play. I like when my hard work pays off. If I wanted to equalize stuff, I would play a, you know, maybe like a Dark Souls game or something. But even then, you can build power in your character. But like equalized PvP content, you know, that's like shooters, fighting games, etc. Right? I like building power in an MMO, and I like being able to do it on multiple characters. Me personally, like when I played Diablo 2 when I was younger, I actually had 2 full accounts of characters with all different kinds of builds, and that's just how I enjoyed playing the game. And I kind of took the same thing to Lost Ark. I like having a powerful roster and being able to switch between characters and, you know, doing top end content on different characters and, you know, gearing them up. I like the aspect of gearing them up and theory crafting and all that stuff. That's the kind of player I've always been, and Lost Ark kind of itches that. I don't like how there's, you know, kind of a set way to build stuff. Unironically, I like Gamba RNG I like rolling stones. I like doing bracelets. It's, you know, I know that's actually crazy to hear, right? That somebody actually likes doing that. But, yeah, like, I don't know. It tickles like my gotcha itch. Cause, you know, like I played Epic 7. I was over $20,000 in Epic 7. I just wailed my ass off, and, you know, I liked gambling for new units and gambling for good gear. And that's another itch this game has, is like, what keeps me doing Guardians and keeps me doing Chaos Dungeons is I like the dopamine hit that I get when a good piece of gear drops. I like that about Lost Ark. I like, you know, it's the same instance from Diablo. I like the dopamine that I get from hitting big numbers and gear drops and all that stuff. But back to Brel being too hard, I think that's a good thing, because personally, I think this is a pinnacle raid. Like, I like the difficulty of Brel. I think it's the overlap is the issue. It's not necessarily like the mechanics are too hard, because honestly, the mechanics are not hard. Keeping track of the meteors, yeah, if you don't have a second monitor and having to memorize all that shit and where to go, it's really, like, yeah, that could be a little much. But like, once you get the repetition of doing it, you know, it's just repetition. You just do it, you know. It's like after a month of normal or whatever, you had the meteor patterns memorized, right? And as long as she wasn't doing some crazy overlap patterns, like, it would be fine. It's like, oh, there's already a tile broken at bottom, run at bottom, you know? And you don't even have to follow a specific order for doing the meteors. As long as you know which side to put the gold on, and you spread them out, you don't break stuff on accident, you know, you don't. And it's very easy to do that stuff, right? And it's just playing cautiously. A lot of people are like DPS gremlins, and they want to just DPS the boss nonstop and tank every mechanic, and that's what we were doing in normal. Like, literally on my Zerker on normal, I didn't have to dodge anything the first week, because I put the tank card set on, and I put on yeah, I just put the tank card set on, and they had I don't know if they just buffed our defense or if it was after that, but like, I could, and we had the heal over time pots from the Witcher event. I could literally not pot the entire time in Gate 6 on my Zerker. Like, I didn't need a pot. The heal over time from that and the shields from my Bard, like, I literally could tank half of the patterns and not have to pot. And I think that's a big problem, right? Because a lot of people got used to that kind of gameplay, and then they get put in the same fight where there's more RNG in the overlap of the patterns, and they completely change the order of the meteors, which is another aspect you have to learn, and then they put a new mechanic at the end of the fight. But let's be honest, the mechanic at the end of the fight is actually kind of a joke. It's not hard to do at all. Like, we have the benefit of having guides from KR players, and if you do it blind, I mean, kudos on you. That's great. I'm not particularly a person that would enjoy doing that. I like doing the content just to do the content. I'm not trying to learn the content as I go. I mean, that's just not my thing. But yeah, that's where I think the difficulty lies in. It's the pattern overlap. If the patterns weren't bad, so overlapping, then people wouldn't die to unfortunate things. Because sometimes you just die to an unfortunate thing. It's you really can't stop it from happening, right? And like sometimes shit like this just happens, man, and you can't help but to just laugh at it. This is hilarious. You cannot say this is not funny. I think this is funny as hell, and like that's what makes this game so good. It's like if you find a nice static with people you enjoy raiding with, and you don't take it so seriously, like the game is way better, man. Like, you guys gotta stop fucking pugging. That's why you're miserable. Stop pugging. Stop trying to do everything all efficiently. Like, you gotta stop. Like, you gotta be able to have moments like this so you could just laugh at your friends. Because it's just so much better. And it's funny because this is just in Gate 4, right? Like, I've had some pretty unfortunate shit kill me in Gate 6. Like, on this week's clear, I died during Shandy. I've done Shandy literally dozens of times. Right? But like, look at this. This shit is just hilarious to me. Like, some people be mauling their ass off, but I just think it's so funny. Even when it happens to me, like, you just can't help but to laugh when shit's going on like this. It's because it's just ridiculous. Right? And he's an ATD player. I mean, I have 2 ATD players that I raided with, and they die to dumb shit all the time. It just is what it is. Sometimes you just die. Right? And I know that upsets people because it's a 20-minute fight. But you can do things to not die. Like, you really can. Just play super cautiously. Don't gap close with your spacebar to the boss. That's a very hard habit to break, I know. But it's actually very bad to do that. Just walk up to the boss. That way you have your space if you need it, right? When you get knocked on your ass, don't roll unless you absolutely have to. This is something that everybody should have learned on Gate 5 and normal. Because when you were doing that shit on eye level, and she did the get up mechanic, if you didn't have spacebar or get DR'd, you would die on eye level. You just die. So you actually had to learn to hold your spacebar at that point, right? That's good gameplay habit to build. Sorry if you hear my dog drinking water. But yeah, like, hold your spacebar and don't gap close with space. Once you break these habits, you'll die to dumb shit a lot less. And this is coming from a Berserker player. I know you're sitting here going, oh, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's floor POV. Like I said, I died during Shandy this week. And it's to a mech that I've done literally dozens of times before. You know, sometimes you just die. And what happened was, like, there was 2 red orbs coming in on Shandy, and there was a yellow in between them. I thought I could squeeze in between them to get it. And I got ping-ponged between the 2 of them, and I died. Just straight up died straight on the floor from full health. And they cleared still, you know, because it's... as long as your group does decent damage, like, you could do it 7-man. You can do it 6-man. It's, you know, the 7-bar mech really isn't that difficult. Like I said, the fact that you have a KR guide telling you exactly what to do, and you have little sheets you could have on your second monitor to look at. It flashes, okay, you get in position to counter. Don't hit red meteors. I mean, that's as simple as you're playing Mario and you don't fucking let the Koopa touch you. Like, it's literally, like, that simple. And then you counter the blue meteor. Okay? And then you aim the beam at Brel. That's something you literally did in the first challenge abyss. You aimed it at a person to defuse that explosion or whatever. Like, you literally do that, like, every other week. Or every couple weeks in the challenge abyss. If you have this lower damage, right? You know how to do it. You just aim the thing and you shoot the boss. Right? If you're in trouble, time stop. That's what it's for. You know, don't be greeting damage while red meteors are going through. There's just so much stuff that you could just improve in yourself to make it to where you wipe less. Once you get to the point where... And then, like, joining pugs is just the other thing. Like, make friends with people that you meet raiding. And make a static. Literally 2 of the clips that I just showed you from the striker and my static... I just started playing with him in Brel, and now we play with each other all the time. I just posted in the Discord because we only had 6 people ready for normal Brel when it was coming out. And I found 2 of our static members, and they're both great at the game. And we've been raiding with them ever since. Make some friends. If you want this game to be easier, you got to play it with people that you enjoy playing it with. That's why I know you watch Stoops, and they go in, and yeah, they get jailed sometimes, and we get jailed sometimes, but it definitely feels better getting jailed with people you like playing with over people you don't know. Because especially playing with people you don't know, someone's going to get mad, someone's just going to log out, someone's going to rage quit, someone's going to flame this guy, someone's going to be running DPS meters, and he's going to flame you for doing 2 million DPS on gate 5 or whatever, you know? Like, there's just so many more variables that you have to deal with when you're pugging. Why wouldn't you, like, actively try to reduce those variables by just finding a group of people to run with every week? Only one person, I think. One guy in my static I've been playing with since tier 1. Everybody else that we play the game with quit, but we both still play. And then we've brought in like basically another community where like all their people quit, and we just kind of combined. And we did that around Vaulton. And I want to say like, no, we brought in one person around Vaulton, and then another one on Vicus, another 2 on Vicus. One of our static bards we met doing Vaulton, and we were just like, hey, do you want to keep playing with each other? And this guy still raids with us all the way up into Brawl Hard now, and raids with us every week and has every week since. Just because we're like, hey, do you want to keep playing? And now we bullshit with him in voice, and like he's just like one of the guys now, you know? And we picked up 2 more when Brawl came out. We kind of like, the static kind of broke apart for Clown because I wasn't playing at the release of Clown, but they were still playing with each other. And then I came back like I was never gone. And then I did my Clowns with them too. And we reformed for the Brawl static. Another person had quit already by then. So I posted on the Lost Ark forums, hey, we're looking for 2 static members. And I guarantee you there's people, if you go into Lost Ark forums right now, there's people that are looking for statics. People to play with consistently. Right? Just find 7 of those people, man. Like I do. And honestly, we don't even, like, now we're to the point where, like I play the game pretty much all day. And a couple of my other friends play all day, or they're doing homework all day. Like, by the time we do Brel, it's the end of the night. It's the end of the day. People worked all day and did whatever. Like, we're all fried by the time we do it. And this is the hardest content in the game. So we just knock out 1 to 4, and then we come back and we do 5 and 6. We'll throw in a couple attempts on 5. Maybe we 1 or 2 shot it, but we don't stress it. We just come back the next day. And then we 1 or 2 shot gate 6 because we come in with a fresh mind, you know? Because sometimes unfortunate stuff happens in gate 3. You know, shapes don't get killed, and then gate 4, people get ping-ponged to death. And then you fail to stagger later. You know, there's just other stuff that could show you in the other gates. So it's better to separate them. Like this, I don't think this raid was designed to do in 1 shot. Over and over and over again by 6 characters. This raid was designed to be a pinnacle content that you completed like maybe once or twice a week. And that's why the gates are split up, and the gold is weighed to the lower gate. Because you get, what, 2,500 gold for 5 and 6? Like, you don't have to do it. And I know people are not liking the argument of people saying, well, just don't do it. I'm like, well, why do you not like that argument? Because it's supposed to be hard content. If you don't want to do the hard content, you don't have to. Like, you really don't. You can get all the gear you need. It's not like there's a trinket that's best in slot, like in WoW, that drops off this boss. You get horns, but it's purely cosmetic. You get a pet that's purely cosmetic. Like, you don't need any of that. You don't need that to continue progressing your character. Like, it'll go a little bit slower, but it's not even by lot, because they nerfed the mats, right? They nerfed the crafting cost, right? So, we're not even missing out on much. Like, honestly, you probably get your set just as fast as if we didn't get that nerf. Doing 1 to 4 instead of doing all 6 now. And, like, a lot of your content creators are saying, don't do all 6 gates. Don't do it on 6 characters. Don't play 6 characters a week. Like, why don't you just listen to them? Pugging in this game is what makes people miserable. You gotta stop pugging. Pug the farm content. Don't pug prog, in my opinion. I think that's, like, the worst thing to do. And then setting yourself up to, you know, do the pinnacle content, especially with, like, hard mode Brel, right? Because hard mode Brel is hard. Like, it's... And I think it should be hard. But I think the problem is, People think they have to do it 6 times a week, right? And you don't. And people say, well, Smilegate incentivizes that. And I'm like, well, how so? For an extra 2,500 gold that you get over the course of a 40-minute fight across both gates? How is that worth it? You can make that more than that much gold going to fish. So how are they incentivizing you doing that on 6 characters if you only get 2,500 gold and it takes that long to do? Please tell me how they're incentivizing that. They're not. You think it's efficient, but it's not. Do 1-2s. Right? If you have those characters at that level. I mean, but honestly, you shouldn't be pushing characters just to... Like, you're not going to pay them back. This has been an argument for like a long time now. It's like, you don't have to do the new content right when it comes out. I mean, maybe you bank out and make some gold, but it's not the case anymore. Right? You have to really get lucky to get a juicier piece of accessory now. Like, I'm talking like a 6-3 relatively stat on high spec, right? That's the only way you make gold now. Swiftness accessories don't really sell for shit anymore. Neither do crit. Even on ancient. Even at high quality. They don't really sell for much. So like pushing, like I pushed a whole roster to 1540 because I like playing the characters. There's one that I'm kind of getting sick of that's going to get replaced with Slayer. But you know, do I kind of regret pushing it? Not really, because my Soul Fist is actually kind of fun to play in Hanu sometimes. I just don't like the Dom gameplay, and I don't like how hype works. Like, it's... The more I play the class, the less I like it. But there's some instances where, like, I'm playing it and I really pop off and do a shit ton of damage and I enjoy it, so... But I think it's just more often than not that I don't enjoy playing it. I don't like that, like, okay, I can fit in one more rotation before I have to go in Hype 3. But, oh shit, I got knocked down. So even if I space up, I don't have enough time to turn on my Hype 3. You know what I mean? And that's what really aggravates me about the class, because, okay, I missed a very good Hype 3 window, I guess I'm fighter. I don't like that. At least with my Zerker, okay, well, I missed my Red Dust. Well, I'll just finish my rotation and I'll do a little bit less damage this time. I don't have to wait all the way to go through my Hype 2 again and then go to Hype 3, or just going straight into Hype 3 and then, oh, now the boss is DR'd. Like, I don't like that. That's what really bothers me, and I don't want to build another spec class because it's going to basically play the same as it already does now. It's going to feel slower, but I use literally all the same damaging abilities that I'm already using, so playing Robust isn't going to feel much better than playing EO. At least I don't think it will. The rotation is exactly the fucking same, pretty much. I just am slower. So it's going to feel like playing the same thing. Right? So I just think Soulfist is dead for me now. It's going to get replaced with Slayer. I might still do Guardians and Chaos on it. Whatever. Just because it's already at 1540, I might as well make what I can off of it, because it can still drop accessories and farm me mats and etc. and still make me gold, but yeah. But I think that's one of the biggest issues in the game. Gold. This is another hot topic. Needing to do everything on 6 characters. And while I'm not necessarily one way more than the other, and like, oh, you need to have a roster of a bunch of characters, or, you know, or just want to play one character. Because, like, I do like playing pinnacle content on one character. And I think that's why a lot of people enjoyed Volton and Vicus more, is because they had, like, 1, maybe 2 characters that they were doing the hardest content in the game on. The delay with Clown let a bunch of people push those characters up, and then even more so with Brel. It was a lot easier to have a lot of characters ready for Brel than it was to have a lot of characters ready for Volton on release, right? I actually didn't even clear hard Volton the first week. Because my static, like, literally Volton broke my static. Like, it broke it. That's where a lot of people quit playing. But yeah, so, but we persevered, and we met some new people, and I really enjoy playing with all the guys I play with now. But yeah, it's just not, it doesn't feel the same as it did back then. Personally, I think the game should have released with Volton. It should have had the first honing buff already, so it didn't feel like shit, straight up. Like, I think the honing buff you get at 1385, it should have just been in the game from the start, and nerfed it, and they just made it easier to get to the first Volton. That way, not Volton, but Argos, because, like, people really FOMO'd over Argos. The way they handled Argos was complete dog shit. I did Gate 1 the first week, I think, and then I think I was 1400 the second week. So I pushed relatively quick. I didn't wail out or anything. I got kind of lucky with my hones. But my first full Argos clear had no support in it. Or I might have did gate 4, later in the week or something. But looking back now, that was such a waste. I really think the game should have came out with Vaultin as the pinnacle content, right? Because it's a Legion raid. And I think we should have had the first honing buff by default that you get in Stronghold by 1385. Make the push up easier. Because I think if more people were able to do Argos right away, and the fact that they released it and you had 3 days to get to it, like that was one of the biggest, I think it's literally actually the biggest mistake this game ever made, because the game was really fresh, right? It was a brand new game. Shroud was playing, Asmongold was playing, like Lost Ark was like this big hot topic. It had peak 1.3 million players, and then they just, I don't know if they just wanted to milk the whales or whatever they were thinking. It was the wrong fucking thing to think, because it actually, like, if the game wasn't so good, right, and we didn't see what we were getting with Korea, I think the game would have been dead on arrival at Argos if we didn't know what we were getting already from KR already being out. Because I would have just seen it as a pay-to-win cash grab, and pretty much everybody would quit, I think. That's why I think it should have just been released with Vaultin. They should have made it easier to get to Argos. That way, more casual players, they're getting to Argos, they're farming their legendary set, and then like the more hardcore players, okay, they're up at 1445. They're starting to do hard mode Vaultin like really quick, and then you still had normal mode for people that kind of pushed in after doing the Argos, after a couple weeks or whatever. I think that would have been a way better way of doing the raid. I'm not 100% positive, like with WoW, if Molten Core was out, but there was a lot of content for players to do outside of that, right? Like Lost Ark just kind of has a Reha and then Argos, and then you go straight into the Legion raid. There's not, a bunch of dungeons to gear up in and etc. It's just the progression is way more linear in Lost Ark than it is in a lot of other MMOs in terms of gearing up, right? You just kind of grind your chaos, you do your guardian, you hone, you do your raids. It's really easy to get your gear. It's very linear. So like, I think making that linear path easier at the launch of the game, this game would have had a much healthier player base moving forward. And then a lot of people wouldn't have quit. A lot of the streamers wouldn't have quit before Vaultin came out, before Vicus came out. And then, because streamers actually, like, they help a game so much, because they get their communities wanting to play it and etc. And then people playing with streamers, just like hardly anyone streaming Lost Ark now. A lot of them quit. Even like the more long-term players are streaming less, or streaming other games, right? And that's very bad for the game. You want to keep like streamers invested in your game, I think. So like losing those big content creators early on because the stupid Argos like was a big mistake in my opinion, right? And the whole issue with alts didn't really start that early in the game. Some people, you could tell when someone had a bunch of alts because they were pushing really fast. They had a bunch of characters selling the leapstones really expensive and really early on. Like, I wasn't that. I grinded horizontal content when I first started playing. I didn't have a bunch of characters. Like, I just played my one character, and I was able to get to 1400 really easily. Just grinding off my one character. I was actually doing endless chaos, and what the fuck? Alright, well, I went ahead and relaunched the game because sitting there and recording with that on, like, didn't make sense. So I kind of lost my train of thought again. And this is what happens when you do one-take videos, I guess. Something just happens in the middle of it, and then you lose your train of thought. So it's kind of hard to keep talking about what I don't even know what I was just talking about. I know I was talking about, like, Argos and how they kind of botched the launch of the game and how it drove a lot of players away, including some of the more popular streamers, right? And this is kind of where I'll leave that thought at. I think they could have did much better with the launch of the game. And I think the next big mistake they made was how long we had to wait for Clown to come out. Granted, I wasn't playing during that time, but people were able, like, this is where what kind of happened, right? This is where the disconnect happened. And this is why people think Rel hard is so hard. Okay, get ready. People had one character for Vaultin, right? Maybe two. And then same thing for Vicus, one or two. And then we had all this time for Clown, and then you know what you're doing during this time? You're catching all these alts up to where your main's at. You're getting all these 1460s. Okay, you may not have a full clown roster, but you know, by clown, maybe you have 3 characters ready for clown. You know, the honing isn't that. It's all plus 19 compared to plus 18. Back then, I don't think it was overly too hard to get. As long as you were pretty diligent with doing, you know, and playing every day. Well, you could have a couple characters ready for clown. And then it's just plus 20s from there. You get a few lucky taps or whatever, and then you have a full 1490 roster for Brel, right? And do you see how that kind of ramped up? Meanwhile, like when you do the prog content, your main like vastly overgears it, right? Like people went into clown there like 1500, 1505. I think when I finally did clown on my main, when I came back to the game, I was already over 1500. I was like 1505, 1510 almost, something like that. And that's overgearing the new content to where like nothing hurts, right? Same thing with Brel. Like we went into Brel on 1520 characters, and you kind of felt it when you got to gate 5 and 6. But then it was really easy to hone up past that once you converted your gear. You actually gained a lot of eye level really quickly. So you didn't really feel the pain of like the normal patterns as long. With hard mode Brel, we don't really get that, right? Everything hurts, and everything's going to continue hurting until we're like 1590, 1600, till you get that good 40 eye level gap. 20, it kind of helps a little bit. Tapping your armor quality kind of helps a little bit. Actually helps a lot. So if you're in there with green and you have 120k health, then it's gonna kind of feel bad. I have my lowest quality is 87, which is, you know, basically purple, right? So I'm a pretty tanky boy on Zerker, and I'm in Mayhem stance. I still get one shot by some things. Like if a pattern overlaps in Brel, I get one shot, just like every other class does. And the way this game's designed, you don't have to do all of Brel to continue progressing in the game. You could literally go your entire time with doing nothing but Brel 1 and 2 and still progress into a con and Chi-Angle. You don't have to do it at all. And people wouldn't even know. Like, if you don't have Brel horns, who fucking cares? No one's gonna check. Like, you should be looking at Brel horns like Demon Drawer. Right? Or Addicted to the Light. Like who cares if you have it or not? You have the gear. You didn't want to, you know, fight this boss that really isn't incentivized anyways. It only gives you 2,500 gold. So it's not about the gold. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it on 6 characters. But I think you should want to do it at least once on 1 character. That's what I'm doing. Just split the gates up.